Last time on the Misadventures of Agnetha Deveaux. Today saw the arrival of the great train journey to Orungarde. The man of the moment, Tony Ivans.
Oh yeah, the overnight university professor turned political activist.
Finally, I can make a change for the better, and I absolutely refute the accusation that I'm pandering to the younger, more liberal generation for political success. That's absurd.
Yes, exactly what the world needs more of. Jolly good idea. Lots of people talking about how they're going to change the world.
And then doing nothing about it.
Precisely.
Tony and Felicity had...
An affair? Good lord.
I know.
How old is he, 50?
And there we saw it, lying in the middle of the floor, the body of Tony Ivans.
God!
Tony!
Whoever is responsible for killing Tony is on this train, and seeing as I have the means to get to the bottom of this, I'm going to get to the bottom of this.
The Misadventures of Agnetha Deveaux. Episode 5. The Murder on the Orungarde Express. Part 2.
I'm Agnetha Deveaux, Varadune City Detective. Now, take a seat. I'd like to ask you a few questions. Your name, please?
Felicity Harisham.
I'm Gaelin Eleanor.
Peter Grantham.
Chamberlain Lee.
Dada Flacroix.
Jaimie Davison.
And who are you exactly?
I'm an heiress. My father owns many of the farms around Varadune.
Well, where to start? I'm a philanthropist, a long-time advocate for elven rights in human society, a voice for the voiceless.
I'm a government minister.
I have a position in the Varadune government.
I am Comte Davith.
I'm the personal assistant to Mr. Gaelin Eleanor.
Are you just? What is your reason for being on this train journey today?
I'm the personal assistant to Mr. Gaelin Eleanor.
I was invited to attend the Bendixsen summit in Orungarde. This summit was to further break down the barriers between our different races, for the betterment of all.
What? I was helping Eleanor or Didier.
Why am I here? You're the reason I'm here.
Me? I don't know why I'm on this train journey. I thought this kind of thing was long beneath me.
Reason? What do you mean, reason?
This train was going to a political summit. What's an heiress with no apparent political standing doing here?
Well, for fun, I guess.
Going to a political summit in a frozen wasteland for fun. Okay then.
I'm only on this train because your slander led to my demotion. I've been serving Harridan for over 3 decades, working my way up, and then you come along.
You publicly admitted in front of hundreds of people that you paid some thugs to harass an innocent woman because she was an elf.
Well.
Did you drop anything off the train earlier when you passed between carriages?
What? No.
No, I didn't.
No?
No. None.
No? What do you mean?
My mistake. Did you know the victim Tony Ivans prior to today's train journey?
Yes. He was a university professor who got ideas above his station and tried to see if he could hack it in politics. I met him when he first started about 7 months ago. We didn't interact much since.
Yes, I know Tony. I knew Tony. He was a newcomer to politics. He became very big very quickly, big enough to match the size of his head.
I had heard stories of Tony over the last few months. Tonight was the first I had met him. He spoke much like I had heard him speak, yet he was very different from how I had pictured him. Yet he still had given me hope that he would be the one to make our dream a reality.
Through working with Mr. Gaelin, I was very familiar with Tony Ivans' beliefs. I only met him today.
I have never heard Tony... Parlez-vous really?
Oui.
I do not know who Tony was at all. I didn't even really know what he looked like.
No?
None.
I didn't know Tony very well.
You were a student at university, weren't you?
Yes. Well, yeah, okay, but he was my teacher. I didn't know him.
Some might say you knew him better than any students, as a lover of his.
I like to pretend that part of my life never happened.
Well, Flick, it happened. And seeing as this is a murder investigation, I don't think it's wise to be concealing the facts. Otherwise, you're likely to be implicated. You were sitting with Tony. You called his name when you saw him lying out on the dining carriage floor. He was trying to force his way into your cabin not very long ago.
Okay. Well, yes, I know Tony. He was my literary professor at university, and stupidly, I fell in love with him. Although it wasn't love, I was a foolish young girl.
Attraction?
Yes.
Long since gone now.
Well, yeah, of course. He's dead.
No, I mean, before tonight. Before he was dead, of course.
Oh, yes, heavens, yes! I'd long moved on. Tony, though. Maybe it's just desperation on his part.
Desperation? Sounds about right, judging by how he was trying to get into your cabin. So, is that why you're here on this train? You've got no political standing, nothing to your name but an inherited fortune. Did you use Tony's desperation to get back together with you? Manipulated him to get onto this train? No, wait, that's definitely what you did. But why, though?
I wanted to get out and see the world.
The grey tundra wasteland that is Orungarde.
There's more to it than that. I hope. Not all first steps are glamorous.
But then tonight must have been a shock, him trying to force himself on you. Very shameful. Got on you for standing firm.
I don't know what came over him then. I could have... Well...
Where were you at 9:05 this evening?
In my cabin.
I was in my cabin.
I was with Peter in our cabin. Why we had to share, I don't know, but it's outrageous.
I was in with Jaimie in our cabin. Comte David was sleeping.
Mr. David slept. Mr. Gaelin had some papers to look over. I was with him then.
Sleeping in cabin with Gaelin and Davison.
And did you leave your cabin at all after the party?
No, I stayed.
I was with Peter the whole time.
After Tony left, I went and fetched another bottle of wine and some ice.
No, I was sleeping.
I did leave a few times. To relieve myself.
I left to fetch some ice for drinks.
And where was the ice and drinks?
In the dining carriage.
I got them from the dining carriage. What? What are you trying to say?
Are you sure you didn't leave?
Chamberlain left. I stayed.
Peter popped out for a few minutes, but I stayed put.
I am very, very sure that I stayed in my cabin. Apart from the relieving of myself.
You sound very sure. What was your opinion of Tony?
Oh, I do not know, really.
He was pandering.
He banged on about this equality nonsense, just to trick the likes of you into voting him in.
I had no opinion on him.
None at all?
Nothing.
He seemed a very good man. I do not know if I could excuse his indiscretions.
He was a mistake. I'd rather move on from it. This may sound harsh, but now that he's dead, maybe I finally can.
That's hardly a glowing review. What would drive you to kill him?
You think that I killed him?
You have the motive, and you told him firmly to back off, but he wouldn't, would he?
He might have been a dog, but it doesn't mean I wanted to kill him.
You going to try and pin this on me now, are you?
How dare you say that to me? What are you trying to say? This interview is over.
I do not know. I was asleep.
I had no opinion on Mr. Ivans. I wouldn't kill him.
How do we know you didn't kill him?
Me?
Your distaste for him was obvious. And those tales you shared over dinner, fighting, the war.
Take a look at yourself. You could tell that Tony was a walking, talking farce, an insult to you and everyone. And it's well known it's in your savage elf nature to strike out like that.
I think you would have done the same to me, had your pal Robertson not been there to pull on your leash. How about him anyway? He worked for years to get where he is, and he's still a bottom feeder. Tony went from zero to hero in weeks, and he was presenting at Bendixsen's summit. He could have offed Tony just like that. He had the motive for it.
If you did kill him, I wouldn't judge you. You did us all a favour.
Thank you for your time.
Tony's body had been carted away from the dining carriage and the mess cleaned up, so now it acted as the base of operations for Agnetha's investigation.
Felicity Havisham, Peter Grantham, Chamberlain Lee, Gaelin Eleanor, Jaimie Davison, David Lecras. 6 suspects, 8 if we include you and I.
What? Us? Suspects?
Ludicrous, I know, but best to consider all possibilities in the pursuit of fairness. Goodness knows how many times I've done something and forgotten about it.
Like murder.
The suspects have been returned to their cabins.
Speaking of pursuit of fairness, Mr. Guard, how well did you know the victim?
I didn't know him at all.
No motive, but Perhaps you had a reason to kill Tony Ivans. Nothing political, nothing personal. A bloodlust that could only be quenched through killing people. Whoever, wherever, male, female, young, old, elven or otherwise, a deep-seated need to murder any person you come across as you rode the trains across country borders under the guise of a train guard, looking to prey on your next victim. The International Train Stabber.
No, I'm just a train guard.
Right you are. Now, it wasn't you, and it wasn't me. 6 others were on this train, and one of them killed Tony. I think Davith should be discounted. Much like the guard, he didn't know Tony. Looking at his spirit trail, he stayed pretty firmly on his side of the carriage, and everyone's story said he was asleep well before Tony was killed and hadn't stirred until his body was found.
You're discrediting him just like that.
Yeah, he's a dead end. Now, everyone else isn't so simple. Everyone has a motive.
Really?
Chamberlain and Grantham hated him with their bigoted opinions. Tony's attempts to reform politics and society for the betterment of all races clashed horribly with their personal views. Felicity had long since abandoned her tryst with Tony, but his persistence nearly turned violent earlier. She strikes me as someone smarter and fiercer than she appears. Gaelin was singing praise at Tony until I mentioned that he had a thing with Felicity as I met him outside the kitchen carriage. His mood changed completely as he hurried back to his cabin through the dining carriage, while Tony was still skulking around after Felicity rejected him. The only one without a clear motive is Jaimie, Gaelin's aide. He seems zealously loyal to Gaelin, so maybe he was ordered to kill Tony?
What? By Gaelin?
Yeah, Gaelin. But then... Chamberlain kind of cut the interview short and was quick to deflect the blame onto me. So was Grantham, and Gaelin too. Grantham doesn't seem the man to do things himself, though, eh?
Well, no, he has assistants, butlers, maids. I mean, he had paid off those 2 thugs to harass Merelda. But the thing is, there's no one on this train he could pay off and manipulate to do such a thing.
Except for you, Mr. Train Guard!
I'm just a train guard. The body was here when I entered the carriage.
Yeah, I'm just playing around. Which direction did you enter the carriage from?
I entered from the back of the train where the cabins are.
Did you see anybody up and around from the cabins? The suspects, I mean.
I pretty much saw everyone. Lady Harsham, Lady Chamberlain. She was acting very strangely.
How so?
She was hurrying back from the dining carriage as I was heading up here. She looked rather stern.
Nah, that's probably just her normal facial expressions. But they were all out and about?
Yes, well, no, most of them, but not all of them.
Who, exactly? Come on, names.
Harsham, Chamberlain, Gaelin, his aide, Davison, Grantham, and LaCroix were in their cabins.
Okay. Right. Perhaps turn the questioning to those 4. Really push them, see if they crack. Because there's not a whole lot of information that can be gathered from the crime scene itself. But I think I'm missing something. The knife, it's just in there. Straight in, between the shoulder blades. The angle of entry suggests nothing, but... Oh, of course, the knife! It's 9:30 p.m, the dining is all done for the night, the dining room is packed up, plates, glasses and cutlery taken away. Where did the knife come from?
The utensils are stored in the kitchen.
Right, to the kitchen! Chef man, cutlery, knives, you store them in here?
Yeah, we do. Over there.
Do you keep an inventory of all your items, the number of each you have?
Oh, hi, we do. 40 sets of knives and forks, 40 spoons.
5, 6, 18, 27, 36, 37, 38, 39 steak knives.
What? That can't be. We counted them all after dinner.
Well, number 40 was taken from this drawer after dinner and is now in the back of Mr. Ivans in the dining carriage. Someone nicked it. Has anyone been in here since they were counted?
Well, you were. The Chamberlains, is that her name? The pretty lady, Felicity. Is that what she's called? Gaelin and his aide were in here just before you, as well as the victim himself. He got himself a plate of cheese and others all drinks, all bottles of wine. They were all standing by the cutlery drawer.
We returned to the dining carriage. Agnetha began to pace.
Mr. Guard, can you please assemble the suspects in the lounge carriage? Thank you.
The pacing continued for a minute before we headed through to the lounge, where nearly everyone was assembled.
Have you had any luck yet?
I'm just about to... Where's Chamberlain?
She left for the luggage hold at the back of the train 10 minutes ago.
Did she now?
I'll go fetch her.
I'll do it. I want a word in private with Lady Chamberlain. Turmell, come along.
In private, you said. Robertson, you're just her pet, aren't you? She says heal, you follow. Some twisted, codependent relationship.
Quiet, Peter. Down we raced to the end of the train. As we entered the luggage carriage, we heard a rustling and quiet murmuring. Given how small the number of passengers were, the carriage's shelves and storage were mostly empty besides a few trunks. But the floor was covered in clothes and papers. A few trunks ransacked, and Chamberlain knelt hunched over one of them, rifling through its contents.
Looks like you've made a bit of a mess.
You be quiet. Leave me alone.
Looking for something? I'm more than happy to help. Kneeling like that can't be good for your knees, Felicity Harrison. Funny, I thought your name was Chamberlain Lee, and yet you're here going through that trunk labelled Felicity Harrison.
You think you're so clever, don't you?
Yep. What's this paper here? Oh, letters from Tony to Felicity.
Give that to me.
I can see why his wife didn't much care for his sonnets. Are you a poetry collector? Why do you want this letter so much? Well?
Tony, sainted Tony. Well, he will be now, won't he? Now that he's dead. A martyr to your cause. I don't know why everyone is so obsessed with him. A subpar university professor who filled the world with his lies. Equality, ha! You think he really cared about your kind? About making sure elves, goblins, halflings were all treated with respect? No, he just wanted his young, pretty girlfriend back. She believed all that nonsense. And he couldn't hack it as a poet or an author or even a university professor. This was the fame he so craved. Didn't matter he was lying so long as he made it into the history books and got a chance to peddle his own writings to the public on the back of it.
Is that so?
People know this, you know this, and soon the public at large will too when they get that letter of a middle-aged man confessing his love to his student and saying he's only changing the world for his own selfish needs.
Makes sense. But why are you so offended by this? How does the equality of all affect you in any way whatsoever?
You people invade our countries and no one is alarmed. You're taking over our neighbourhoods, our markets, our businesses, and soon our parliament. Nasty beasts, horrible wicked creatures with ugly skin and pointed demon ears. Uncivilised and monstrous, violent-natured and disrespectful. Grantham has the right idea, line you all up and shoot you. But he's only concerned because he's comfortable sitting around as it is. He doesn't want to get up and actually work like Tony proposed. And you're not fit enough to scrub my floors. A nasty, wicked little... What are you doing? Let go of me! Unhand me, you beast! Ah!
You didn't answer my question.
Agnetha, you just threw her off the train.
Yeah, I guess that's just in my nature.
You just killed her.
She'll live.
Agnetha, you could get in real trouble for that.
Nah, it's all just water under the bridge. Literally, there's water under this bridge. Her head full of hot air will keep her afloat.
Chamberlain survived in the end. A little bruised, but maybe I shouldn't write this down. Agnetha and I returned to the lounge carriage.
Well?
I'm afraid Lady Chamberlain will not be joining us. No matter though, I've ruled her out of the investigation.
How come?
I don't know if anyone has noticed, but Lady Chamberlain is just a tiny little bit racist. Yeah, shocking, I know. The woman who wanted to ban elves and dwarves from Varadune City. Who would have thought it? But, you see, her killing Tony makes no sense because, as she puts it, as with activists in the past, killing them only takes them out of the world, not their ideals.
Indeed. Many old friends of mine, Johansson, Clara Dawes, their legacy and their message of peace not only survived beyond their deaths, but were able to grow because of it.
Exactly. No matter what else, Tony's message of equality shall live on beyond this night, which is not exactly what Tony's killer wanted.
Why do you say that?
Oh yeah, Grantham, you're ruled out too because you're far too lazy to kill Tony yourself, and there's no one on this train loyal enough to you for you to pay them to do it.
How dare you? I mean, this is fair.
A lot of this does hinge on Felicity, though.
Me? I didn't kill him.
No, you didn't. You're in no way responsible for Tony's death or the choices he or others made. However, one cannot ignore that you were part of all this. Tony lost his marriage,
Emily, it's me, your
his
father.
family,
Judith.
his job,
Your daughter's gone mad. Judith.
and then you. Losing your enrollment at university, your reputation shattered. He sought to get you back, and you sought to exploit his desperation to your own end, to get back at him for the anguish caused, securing a place on this train to begin your new life. And fair enough, I guess. I'd have done worse if I were in your position. Anyway. It was Tony's desire to rise once more after losing his university position, to impress and win you back. By joining politics, standing up for the little people. Not just dwarves, but, the people. By making a positive change, but for all the wrong reasons. And a change he made. The people who mattered took notice. An overwhelming majority of the public agreed with Tony, leading to changes being made, him being heralded as a champion, and him boarding the train to Bendixsen's summit, where he met his demise. Not that anyone was to know that, not even his killer. This attack was not premeditated, but impulsive, quickly thought out and rather well thought out, I might add, or perhaps it was pure coincidence that the clues were hidden, that there was no physical evidence, no spiritual evidence, and that everyone had their motives.
Really?
Even Gaelin, the peaceful protester who believed that Tony was a shining beacon of hope for our kind, quickly turned on him when he discovered the relationship Tony and Felicity shared. It was Tony's final act of trying to barge into Felicity's cabin that sealed his fate, on top of his blatant disrespect, his posturing, his unsavoury and dishonourable reasons for doing what he did, when Gaelin had long suffered for his cause and dedicated his life for the betterment of others. Tony made a mockery and perverted it. Which is why Jaimie murdered Tony, independently of Gaelin.
Bloody hell!
As Gaelin and I spoke at the entrance to the kitchen, Jaimie lurked in the shadows after claiming to have left for the cabin, the knife already in his possession. As Gaelin left, troubled by the revelations about Felicity, Tony entered.
Who's there? Oh, Mr. Davison, I didn't see you clearly there. I just have some cheese if you want some. Nothing too strong, just some blander ones. I really shouldn't be eating this. My stomach hurts to...
What gave it away?
Well, all that stuff I just said. Plus your size, your build. The knife was right between Tony's shoulder blades. That's quite high up on someone's back, and as I was saying to Turmell, it'd take quite a lot of strength, or determination, to get it in there, both of which you possessed.
Don't you all look at me like that? None of you liked him anyway. Not really. He was making a mockery of the hard work and dedication people like Gaelin have been putting in for this cause. So I put an end to this sham, this mockery of his. If anyone should be presenting at Bendixsen Summit tomorrow for their work towards equality, it should be Gaelin Eleanor.
Don't you dare lay your eyes on me. You are a disgrace. It's people like you that are our biggest enemies, striking out and putting our hard, honest work to shame.
This was for you, Gaelin. Tony's legacy shall crumble when this truth comes out, and you will take your rightful place.
You are under arrest. Come with me, Mr. Davison.
Be careful. This was for you, Gaelin. It's all for you.
Bravo! Jolly good show that was.
Jaimie is a selfish, delusional fool. You are right, Miss Deveaux. As is Lady Chamberlain, as much as I hate to say it. This cannot come out. Tony must be survived by what he tried to do, not his reasons for doing it.
Bah, you can try. It's pretty well known in Varadoon already why Tony was dismissed from his university position. And no one cares. People love him. He could shoot the Queen and they'd still love him. Anyway, I fancy a brandy. Where's Chamberlain got to?
You alright? Do you think Jaimie did us all a favour, or does the privilege of killing Tony only belong to me?
I still can't believe he's dead.
Well, it's only been just over an hour.
Is that all? It feels like an eternity.
I'm a very quick and efficient worker.
Goodness me. As horrible as it sounds, at least I won't have to worry about him hovering over me at Orungarde. Boy, I need a drink.
Well done. Gosh, you did it.
Easy as, eh?
I need to write this down. Was all what you just said what helped you figure it out?
No, lucky guess.
Of course you did.
Okay, just kidding. Yeah, it was that. Really, once we ruled out Grantham, Chamberlain and Davith, it was easier to narrow down. The thing you said about Grantham struck me, how he got others to do his bidding, and that there was no one on this train loyal enough to him to bonk Tony off. But I thought, loyalty. Who on this train would be loyal enough to someone else? Gaelin is a pacifist. Although troubled by Tony's past, he wouldn't consider murder. Jaimie wanted to honour Gaelin, but acted himself against Gaelin's wishes. Also, there was a bit of a strong spirit trail of Jaimie standing over in that corner, and I just remembered he spent most of the party sitting next to Gaelin on the opposite side of the carriage. Oops.
Seriously?
Well, he didn't get away with it, did he?
Speaking of getting away with things, a word, please, in our cabin. You threw Chamberlain off the train.
Yes, and she survived, I think. And she had it coming. How could you just stand there as she said all that stuff? To me, to my face. I know you're a pacifist yourself. You've not drawn a weapon in your life, but you just stood back there as she tore into me.
I did nothing because I knew I wouldn't have to. You would.
Yeah, I would, and I did. So don't go spilling tears for the bigot over your best friend.
I'm not spilling tears, especially not over her. It's you. You're my best friend, Agnetha. Beating up Grantham and getting away with it is one thing. I don't want you going down for killing a government minister. That pardon will only get you so far.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you're right. She did have it coming. I'm sure there's many who would have wanted to throw her off the train themselves. Or under it.
I guess I made my dreams come true.
That you do.
Thank you for looking out for me. So, now what's going on with this summit if Tony's gone?
There's other speakers. Tony was only one of a few.
So it's still on then? Ugh, damn.
You can't get out of attending that easily. It means we should really get to bed.
I'll lock the door. Already had one murder on this train, don't need another, or the next victim will be one of us.
Who's capable, do you think?
Well, I was saying Felicity seemed fiercer than she appeared.
The rest of the journey was uneventful. The train arrived early at Orungarde at 5:30 in the morning. As we disembarked onto the platform and the others were shepherded into horse-drawn carriages, Agnetha was approached by a police sergeant dressed in black.
This country's so bloody cold.
Agnetha Deveaux, Sergeant Mikhail. We were informed of the murder of Mr. Ivans, and that you apprehended the killer.
Aye?
Congratulations are in order. I heard from the guard captain you quickly took control and smoked them out. I'll be giving commendations to your superior back in Varadoon. This was stellar work.
Turmell here is my superior. Turmell Izard Robertson of the Varadoon City Council.
She's a fine detective, Mr. Robertson. You've done very well to have her. I'll be off. Oh, and welcome to Orungarde.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, a fine detective you are, Miss Deveaux.
Detective Agnetha Deveaux. I think I like the sound of that.
The Misadventures of Agnetha Deveaux, written by Royce Pentaghast and Abigail Cluett, starring Olivia Brodzinski as Agnetha, Holly Gregg as Felicity, Stewart Fulton as Grantham, Dian Smith as Chamberlain, Aaron Beck as Gaelin, Matt Harris as Jaimie, Joshua Law as the guard, Jake T. Hodgetts as the cook and Sergeant Mikhail, Robbie Bleakley as Tony, and Royce Pentaghast as Turmell. Theme music, the copyright of Matt Harris. Produced by Rabbit Dog 008 and Launceston City Park Radio 2017.
Hello there. Hey, lady.
What?
Are you all right? Who are you?
I'm Lady Chamberlain Lee of Varadoon.
Varadoon? Then what are you doing way out here in the snowy Relysian wilderness?
I fell off a train.